Today's Monday, August 4th. It's our Monday night Zoom meeting, and we have with us Stephen Reed, who has a website called Read for Fun, or is it?
Yep, read for fun.
Read for Fun. Okay, and Stephen has been programming the ZX81 for a hot minute. Um, he has hundreds of blog posts, most of which are little tiny programs for the ZX81/1000, uh, and the programs range in age from, let's say, 2 weeks ago to a few years back. That's what I politely say.
You're being
Uh,
nice, David.
I am being nice, exactly. That's right. Remember this later, Stephen.
I love
So with that, I want to pass the baton to Stephen. And Stephen, first of all, welcome. Thank you. Uh, Tell us your origin story. How did you get here?
Sure, definitely. So first off, let me say thank you for inviting me. It's super exciting to always talk about this. People at work avoid me because I could talk to hours on this topic. But the short answer funny enough, I happened to be living in Europe at the time. My dad was in the military, and um, I had went to an American school while I was there, and a friend of mine came home one day and was showing me printouts that he made, and it was on an old teletype machine. I was like, that was the coolest thing ever. And so and he was a grade above me. And so when I got to the sixth grade, I of course tracked down the computer science teacher and said, hey, I want to learn this stuff. And he handed me a basic book, and I hacked around on, I'm pretty sure a PDP 11 or something around that nature, trying to figure out what this programming idea was. And I convinced my dad, because my neighbor was selling a ZX81 computer, and I'm like, I want that so I have something I can work on at home. And this was around 1983. Obviously, the ZX81 had been out a couple of years by then, and he probably had moved on to a Sinclair, a Spectrum or something, or a Commodore 64 or something like that. But I didn't know any better. I just wanted to learn and play. And so my parents bought me that ZX81 for about 150 bucks, and that was my primary programmer for about 3.5 years.
Oh wow.
And during that time, I probably programmed like 5 or 6 different computers because all of my friends had different ones. So they had Ataris and they had Commodores and they had ColecoVisions. I had IBMs and Apples. And here I am on this ZX81 black and white screen, barely 32 by 24 characters, 20 if you're lucky, blocks. But I loved it. I would go to the arcade. I would go see what other people are doing and go, I wonder if I could write that. And so I spent most of the first year just hacking at stuff. And if you go look at my blog, it has some of my really early programs that go, yeah, those are horrible. Why did you ever write that? And it's like, well, remember I was 13. It's like I didn't know any better. I didn't know what I was doing. And then as I got better at it, read more computer books, learned I would take on harder and harder programs. And it's funny if even as I've gone back through some of them, I'm like, man, that was actually pretty good. I hadn't thought of doing it that way. But that's what got me started. It was really, I wanted to play, I wanted to learn, I wanted to get into programming, and it gave me that opportunity to really dig in and spend the time. And it's just the funny thing is I kept all those programs. I showed them earlier. I'll do it again, but
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I kept all the printouts that I did as a kid, as well as I have my original tapes, just because I like show and tells. So I have my original cassettes, and it's one of those where it was 3.5 years of fun, and then obviously moved on to other computers. And I now work in the IT industry. I manage large computer data centers and way more complex systems than what it is, but I still have that day-to-day love of the computer.
That's really cool. So I saw that you recovered, was it Water Bugs 2 or Water
Yeah,
Bug 2?
Waterbug 2, yeah.
Okay. And my question was, what would happen to Water Bug 1? Um,
Waterbug 1 is Waterbug. So it's just
okay.
called Waterbug. And there's Waterbug 2. So they're both out there on my blog if you go search for them. But yeah, but funny enough, that's one of my I laugh at it, but it was one of those that I had a lot of fun building as a kid because it was I was trying to figure out a way to create a game that had multiple levels to it. And so the
Yeah.
first one which was Waterbug, which had started, and it's kind of a silly name. I don't even know why I called it by the little character I used an X, I think, or an asterisk, and it was like it looked like a bug, so I just called it a bug. And it was my first attempt at creating like a multi-level game where it wasn't just one type of game. It had 10 little mini games in it. We did different things like chase a ball around or a dollar sign. You dealt with scrolling obstacles, or it had little switches where you'd have to go hit the switch to get to the next level, and it would change the board. And those were kind of fun. Waterbook 2 was kind of a impossible to play version of it, because as I went back and tried it again later, I found I had lots of bugs in it that actually made it almost impossible to finish. But the point was, it was really just one of those opportunities as a kid to really think of doing something different. And I actually created like artwork for it and just all sorts of other weird stuff. Those are the days when you're dreaming about being a programmer and selling your games off to people and making millions of dollars. And I learned I wasn't going to be in that industry pretty early.
Or at least the millions that were not
At
forthcoming.
least not the millions of dollars. So yeah.
Um, so I'm looking at your website, and you have 211 posts tagged with ZX81. Now, not all of them are programs, but the vast majority are.
Most of them are. Yep.
Yeah. Um, and your skill has advanced somewhat since the famous Waterbugs 2.
Hmm.
Um, and the thing that sort of kicked me into actually reaching out to you was your most recent post about exploring. I don't know how to pronounce this word. Truchet.
Oh, touche. Yeah, the tiles. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I sent it. Unfortunately, Adam's not here tonight, but Adam Triunfo is usually here, and he usually has all sorts of wonderful questions. So I'm trying to channel Adam here. Um,
Good.
um, but this is something we've talked about in the past with that book 10 print that came
Yep.
out, what, 12, 13 years ago. And as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh, I'm gonna send this out to Adam, and then he wrote me back this really long email. We went back and forth on it. Um, Actually, I think we have an email list for all the crazies that are here today, and I think that's where it was. So, and Adam reminded me, he's like, you should ask him to come. And I'm like, yes, I should ask him to come. So there we. Um,
You might regret it later. There's just
no,
warning
no,
you
no. Listen, um, the intro you gave, I suspect is reasonably universal for most of us.
now. Mhm.
Hmm. Like most folks will run screaming if I start trying to talk to them about the 1000 or the 2068. And that's why I enjoy hanging out with all these guys. So the Truchet tiles
Yeah.
is kind of a return to that maze thing that you did earlier. Um,
Yeah, the infinite maze concept.
the
Yeah.
infinite maze concept, right, right. And
You,
since
if you
the
go through
80s,
my blog, I think I've written like 4 or 5 different versions of
I
that.
saw that. Yes.
Seems to be a recurring theme of late, but yes. I thought the Touche was cool because it was the first time I'd done a tile type program with 4 tiles, and somebody had else written a basic program, I think for the Commodore. And what was really cool about it was really just a flipped tile set and it was pretty straightforward with the ZX81 characters, but it makes a really cool pattern. And it was fast enough and basic that it made sense to go write it. I will warn you, I've already written a machine language version that's like even faster.
Oh, cool.
Matter of fact, too fast because the screen, I had to actually put a delay in it because it would change so fast it was you couldn't really watch the pattern all that great. But I'll probably post that later. I was actually thinking about seeing if I could turn it into a game at some point, like as a background.
Hmm.
Yeah, it was kind of fun. I didn't expect the patterns to work out that nicely. I played with 4 or 5 other Trichette tile type patterns, some that were more 4x4 and not just the 2x2 that I did, where it had 4 different patterns flipped in a circle instead of just two, but they didn't look quite the same. But yeah, it was kind of a fun little program to kind of figure out.
Yeah. Um, and so one of the things that like you said, you've written one in machine language, and one of the things that I noticed, because I've been following your blog for at least a couple of years now.
Thank you, by the
And
way.
what one of the things that you know, you mentioned was writing in machine language, and um, did you find it easy to learn machine language with the 81 or okay.
Well, let me say, I wish I'd learned it earlier. It's funny enough, when I was a kid, I actually did grab a couple programs that had machine code in it and figured out ways to hack at it, but I didn't know what I was doing. Let's just go with that. It was like I knew like I think it was the one of the 16K programming books showed how to create a font, and you could generate lowercase letters and uppercase letters and all different stuff in memory and then print them on the printer. I didn't have a clue of what that program did, but I figured how to integrate it into a program to turn it to a like a multiprocessor program where you could type out a king and then print it out. It's called, I think I called it a multi encoder or something, that some weird name, and tabular. And I looked back on that time and I'm like, I remember going through the basic book and it had all the Z80 code in it in the back, and it told you what each character did and stuff, but it didn't click to do anything with it. I just didn't have that concept as a teenager of how computers actually worked and worked in the data, on that data level. Um, Being an adult is much different because I'd been through college. I'd done assembly program and the 6800s. I had done a lot of different languages in my time because I went to school as a computer science. And so you once you get the basic concepts, I won't go back and I'm like, oh, I can figure this out. And I started hacking at it again. And I think the hardest, you're gonna laugh. This is probably the funniest thing ever, but the hardest part for me was actually getting started. There's not a lot of like templates and things that are out there, and everybody kind of has their own version of a Z80 program,
Yeah.
assembler. And of course, I'm thinking, well, I could use like one of the book ones from back in the day and try that, and that's just like an effort and futility. But once I figured out how to do it, it was like, okay, I've got it. And then, of course, what is the first silly thing that I do? I try to write an Ultima replacement game using machine language. Is that, so pick like the hardest thing you could possibly think of and try to do that as your first assembly program.
Bite off
Um,
a small chunk, huh?
yeah, why do something small, right? And the fun thing is by doing that, I spent about a year really getting into the guts of how Z80 worked, how to do different things. Like the hardest part, I think it took me the longest, was just figuring out how to print numbers, right? It sounds silly. It's like, I just want to print a score. And I started with just using characters, right? You could go in the set, create like a 4 level or 5 level bytes, 0000, and just do an increment counter type thing. I was like, oh, that's pretty simple. Got that working. And then I wrote a binary to decimal subroutine to print it on the screen. So that worked pretty well. And then I'm like, why did that work? And you start figuring out how to disassemble that. And you're like, oh, that's not too hard. I can create a compression algorithm. I'll do something so I can get 16K of memory and be able to do like 20 or 30K of text. Silly things that you do when you start figuring out how to use assembly. So I think it was kind of this growth pattern where it wasn't hard to get into outside of once I getting a program to actually run and compile. Once I got it to do it the first time, I was like, okay, now I can start getting and iterate from there. And really, once I got into the process, it really wasn't too horrible. But again, I had background for it by then, right? I mean, I've been coding for so many years now, it's not even funny.
Right, right. Oh, that's so cool.
It also helps to know how the Z80 works, right? I mean, the ZX81 itself, the system and stuff. Well,
It it's an interesting little box, yes.
yeah,
Um, so do you do most of your work in an emulator?
I do most of it on an emulator because my ZX81 died about 20 years ago, and I haven't had the heart to peel it apart and figure out what's broken. Um, it's also a PAL system, not
Oh, right.
yeah, and it's funny enough, it's in a ZX80, it's in a Timex Sinclair case because the keyboard broke on it. And so a friend of mine had a Timex, so I just swapped out the components in the case. Big mistake. You can't tell it's ZX81 anymore. But it's still a ZX81 internally.
Well, the only difference between a PAL and or a UK and a US 81 is a jumper.
Yep.
So if
I
you
could probably
feel
hack
so
it.
inclined.
Yeah. It would be too hard. Funny enough, when because I had a PAL television, I could swap between NTSC and PAL. That was what I programmed on for years. So my parents had two of those because again we lived in Europe, so we just had the switchers. And so even back in the States, I still had a way to connect it to a TV. Yeah, it's crazy things that you do as a kid. But yeah, most of the time I spend in emulators today. Started obviously with funny enough, it was trying to remember what the first one was. It wasn't 81. There was another one that was out there before that, and this would have been back in the late 90s.
Hmm.
And that was my kind of like the starting point. And then I found JT1, which was a JavaScript emulator that I
Oh
used to have
yeah.
on my for a while. But the problem with that is you had to have a JavaScript, and most people didn't know how to run an emulator on the web. And then I can't remember the gentleman's name, but somebody had converted that to a JavaScript version, and I've loved that ever since.
Hmm.
And so that's what's currently on my site. And I did that because I mainly wanted people to try these programs without any knowledge of how to actually get them to run. Um,
Right, right.
I mean, you and I and everybody here is probably used to the esoterics of an ancient computer that doesn't even have a power button and has a RAM wobble worse than a grandma rocking chair. But the most other users, they just want to, it's just interesting, right? But it's funny, I actually had sent that to somebody. I have it on my LinkedIn page, and somebody actually went to it the other day, and we spent probably 15-20 minutes before a meeting just chatting about the rabbit hole he went down. So I think it's done its job.
That's awesome. Um, so talk to me a little bit about your journey from 83-ish to today.
Yeah. Um, so, obviously 83, 84 finally went from, I ended up buying, my parents bought me a Commodore. I then went on to Amigas and other stuff and, kind of went a different route. I was in the US, obviously we're back to more US based machines. And I had known in high school that was this was my life. I wanted to be into programs. I wanted to do something with computers. And so I went to college and didn't do much with my ZX81 for years. It was kind of like that thing that I played with, that I started with.
Hmm.
I was focused on other computers, writing, other games and programs on them. And it was around the 80, or sorry, about 90, 5-ish, 4-ish. This thing called the internet started getting big. I don't know if you guys have heard of that. The
Uh,
worldwide. Yeah.
I heard it's a fad, and it's just gonna blow over one day.
Yeah, it's just kind of like AI. It's just going to happen. But the fun part of it is it gave me an opportunity to go, well, what can I do with the internet, and so of course I dived with both feet into, hey, I wonder if this would be a good platform for programming and sharing information. And you'll laugh, I didn't start with my ZX81 at first. I started with my other hobby, which is I love Legos.
Hmm?
Yeah, Lego bricks are bad. If I turn my screen off, there's like a ton of them over my head over here. Um, but I was doing a lot of ray tracing and rendering. So take a different hobby, which was computer graphics, and trying to merge the two. And that's where, and I started a blog for that originally, along with some other little things like family things. But I had this idea of, hey, why don't I pull some of those old programs I did as a kid and put them on the web? And of course, this is in the 90s, not even maybe a decade and a half after I got out of program. Most people would move on. So I just assumed nobody cared about an old computer like ZX81. So it just kind of languished for a bit. And, I had a couple of programs out there. And then around 2006, about 10 years later, I started this concept of really wanting to build my own website and brand. And as I started to do that, I thought, hey, I should take those programs and do something with it. And so one of the things I decided back then was every month I wanted to take one of my old programs and write a blog about it. So that was my starting point. And so far, since 2006 to 2025 to this month, I'm working on the blog article now. I've released something every month
Wow.
since then. And so that's why there's so many out there, because there's so many weeks, there's so many months times 10 times 10. So that's a few years. And then, of course, if over that time, I also had fun learning and growing, and it became this concept of not just sharing those old programs, but I started to go, well, what if I did it differently? Or what if I rewrote this? Or what if what if I had took a different approach than what I did when I was 13 and took a different approach, tried to rewrite that as a 20, as a 28-year-old or 30-year-old or a 40-year-old. Now, unfortunately, I'm in my 50s, so I'm starting to look long in the tooth. But the each year you kind of go through it and you're like, hey, I wonder if I could do something different. And the way I've looked at it at work has been I use as a teaching tool to a lot of the people that are coming into computers because I'm like, we're so I don't want to say spoiled, but we think about how computers are, and we don't write programs typically for limitations anymore. We write them for different limitations, and sometimes
Hmm.
it's some as latency. Sometimes it's if you're thinking about building large systems that are taking a lot of data, like telemetry data, and pushing stuff. Obviously network still becomes your bandwidth and your number one bottleneck, but the ZX81 had memory constraints, it had CPU constraints, it had constraints, it had you know the memory in it was somewhat constrained depending on if you want to go in 1K or 16K or 32K. Its paging was different. It had a tape drive, very few things outside of that. Obviously, there's modern hardware and stuff. And it was one of those where it's like, well, that childhood memory of, hey, could I write Pac-Man and a basic on a computer that could barely move it and go, hey, I can do assembly now. I wonder if I could actually make that program somewhat playable. Hey, could I rewrite that basic and make it work to be faster than what it was, right? Knowing more about the computer and its limitations, is there a different way to approach that problem? And so that's just kind of where my story went from, hey, let's just go write a couple blogs to getting into the whole conversation around how can I do it better and how can I teach others. And a lot of my blogs evolved into that, where I was like, hey, I'm going to share you guys what I do and hopefully you get something out of it. And
Hmm.
over the years, I have to admit, people have gotten stuff out of it. I've seen others take the programs or write them on other computers. I've seen people use them for testing. I've had people call me up and go, "Hey, could we use this in a magazine?" I think even last year, they were trying to play every Star Wars program they could find. So they were doing their own little blog, and they were just trying different programs all over the internet. And they're like, "Hey, we found one of yours, could you help me play it? And by the way, could you help me run this other program we found?" I'm like, sure, let me give it a hack. I sent them the scripts. And I mean, so I think the one thing I've found is I just love the community, right? It's beyond the blogging and getting to where I am today. It's more of I love what everybody else is getting out of it, right? And I enjoy seeing what they can do with it as well.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good way. That's a good way. Expressing it. I have the same. I don't. I'm not as productive remotely as productive as you in the blogging aspect. Um, but I did a number of years ago start archiving materials related to the Timex computers,
Mm,
and for me, one of the most fascinating parts is reading the old user group newsletters.
yeah,
So amazing what folks did. And,
yeah,
and it's just in this tiny little microcosm, right? It's just Dallas, Fort Worth, or, the triangle area of North Carolina or whatever. Um, and the love that they poured into these things, for the computers, for, the experience, all the things that you just described. Um, and then this little internet thing came along, and there's what I lovingly refer to as the crazies at Sinclair's EX World, which is this, for the folks who are new, is this forum for largely for the ZX81 uh, users, but there's some Spectrum stuff, but really that they're very much about the 81 and pushing it to its limits and beyond. Um, and through the power of the internet, we now have you know SD card storage systems for our Timex Sinclair 1000 that has 32K of RAM and a sound chip on it, and can also connect to the internet if you're so inclined.
the end of the internet, if I remember, but yeah.
Yeah. So how this all sort of leads into how connected are you into those little sort of subcultures on the internet?
Um, it depends. I think I've been a big fan of the Facebook ZX81 group for a while now, and so
Okay.
I know Johannes and a lot of the folks over in the UK and the one bit guy and Sid Morris and all those guys are really great to talk to. It's funny, we love sharing our little programs, and I will often post up there just to get people's reactions and stuff. Been part of the Spectrum forums for probably 15 years, and I probably spend more time reading old articles there than I do of anything else, just because it's always fun to learn. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's very nichey. And then the funny enough, I've had two or three people that I've worked with that started out in the very similar, where that was their first computer, and so we'll often wax nostalgic over those old days. I didn't add this too, but remember that computer science prof that gave me that basic book when I started? It was funny enough, he bought a ZX81 as well, and he used to bring it into school next to all and they had actually replaced the PDP-11 with Atari 800s. And you're like, oh, an Atari, cool system with color. You think that's what a computer science teacher would buy. No, he bought a ZX81. And so him and I would we'd bring programs in and should demo them to the class together. And it was always kind of fun to do that.
Oh, that's really cool. Yeah, I had a similar experience when I was in junior high, about the same time, like
Mhm.
81 or 2 or something like that.
Yep.
And I remember, who was it? I think it was one of the math teachers got a ZX80. And, when he brought that in, we're like, what on earth? Because at that point, like you, I'd already been exposed to computers, right? Like,
Right.
a friend of mine's mom taught at one of the local colleges, and so I'd seen a VAX, in person and played adventure
Mm.
on the VAX, right? And that was
Yep.
that was that was sort of my eye-opening moment. It was like, what is this? And and in our school system, we had Trash 80s and Commodore Pets and
Yep.
Apples, and then all sorts of other weird stuff, but nothing as small as a Sinclair. And so this guy brings this little white thing in, and we're like, I had never seen a keyboard like it. I'd never seen a computer that small, and it was mind blowing.
Oh yeah.
And then the I think at the same time, because he was a little bit later. I think at the same time we were seeing ZX81 ads, and then finally the 1000 came out, and I got one of those and spent a lot of time with it. A lot of time.
I'm so
uh,
sorry, but
no, no, no. It was wonderful because it led me to where I am today. I went into, like you. I went into IT, except I started in comp sci, and they said you're going to have to learn COBOL. I said no, I'm not spending my life in a bank basement, so I will not be learning COBOL. um, but other than that, I did make it into IT roughly, and do fun things. And actually, that's a lot of. I'm looking at the list of people who are here today, and a bunch of the folks who are on this meeting somehow were involved in IT.
mm, big surprise. That's
It's
crazy.
I know, it's a weird path. It's just real
Well,
surprising.
if it makes you guys feel any better, I made the mistake of getting in the military for part of that time, which was not bad. I actually enjoyed it, but it was one of those where it took me away from computers for a bit, and I learned communications and other things. And when I got out, I ended up getting hired at where I'm at now as a network engineer.
Mm,
Um, I did maybe network engineering for about 7 years. During that time, I spent most of it writing monitoring programs and
mm-hmm,
DNS management and ICE
mm-hmm.
systems, IT systems. And I laugh at team members today that still find some of those scripts. And I'm like, and I look at them like, did you delete them? Because they shouldn't be running 20 some years later. Um, but I think it was that scrappy nature of how do you deal with not having a big budget. You have to figure out how to run stuff. We did a lot of things on web-based. I was a very big proponent still am of internet, and not using it, creating an interface, but using the web as my interface. And we wrote tons of Perl. So if you guys did
Oh,
any Perl, you may apologize.
oh,
Love Perl. And it's one of those where I think you just kind of figured it out, and I would attribute the ZX81 and my experience with, you know, not having a lot of resources. How do I go get something done? And you just go figure it out. And I think it's really been a part of how we evolved in our lives, right? Because sometimes I always look at the world right now and I'm like, it's not about my limitations, it's about what can I do with my limitations. I still have
Yeah.
the same objectives, same objectives. We got to go figure out how to do that thing, but it's okay. Well, I have these constraints. How do I do it with these constraints, right? And you find a way.
Yeah.
And I've noticed a lot of people don't have that same thought pattern sometimes. And I often wonder is that a little bit of because we're just used to having a lot of resources when we're writing programs or dealing with storage or anything that typically is in the IT space. And so it's always been kind of fun. I always take that with me and try to use it as a training tool for others, but I still love the little guy. Sorry. I'm gonna
Yeah,
go
no,
back
no, that's
every time.
totally. Um, I want to open it up, guys. Do you have questions for Steven?
I've got one. I'm wondering what do you develop on? Do you develop on that you don't develop on the JavaScript emulator, do you?
No, not anymore. You'll laugh. Uh, Let me rephrase it. I have used a couple different programs over the years. I used to do most of it exclusively in 81. Would do most of the transcription there. I actually started by trying to take my tapes and download them, and then used Audacity to try and clean them up, and then run them into the emulator, and then try to run them, and then fix all the bugs that you get from years of not being able to get error correction. The tapes, by the way, stretch. If you guys, I'm sure you've dealt with this. They're horrible to get programs. Um, and then once I realized that was a futile effort, I went back to typing them in by hand, which is a nightmare, especially on some of the old printer, because these are from the Z with the 2040 printers, are horrible at the way they kind of fade over time. I may have put them in a potato chip box, which didn't help.
Mhm.
Um, and so they have a little greasy on a couple of them. And so most of the time I would type them in that way. And then about around 2011-ish, I moved away from Windows to Macs. And when I did that, I found all my emulators broke. And so I had to find another way of doing it. And by then, JS, there was a couple JavaScript versions out there, but then I also found some Mac emulators that worked well enough. And so I started moving to that. So I use the XSP a lot of times, or Time Clock's another one, to kind of do my initial development. But as I moved into assembly, most of that's now in VS Code, and I hack all of that in VS Code and then run it in any emulator that I can. I actually have 81 running on my desktop as well because I use Whiskey to convert it from Windows to Mac, and it runs okay in the new emulator. So I've kind of probably played with them all. I played with ZX No Machine, TS 1000. I don't think there's an emulator I haven't hacked at some point in my life just to see if it's better or the same. So,
Yeah, I mean, you use them to do, I mean, debugging, right? And
oh yeah,
yeah.
yeah, debugging, testing, running. Obviously, every one of them gets packaged up and put on the web the same way. And then I love the way ZX81 takes the pictures. So this is a ZX81, an 81 picture, because I love the old gray scan lines and stuff. So even though I use ZXSP and other stuff to actually do my development, I still go to there to get it on a tape and be able to do a printout because I love just the way it looks. Just it's always I want to be consistent in my blog, so it's just something I'm anal about.
Have you, Ryan? What's the name of that tool set for CX81 programs? Yours, I think.
Tool set?
Oh, well, yeah. So, yeah, on my GitHub, ZX81 utils.
Oh, the one on the for the code for Visual Studio?
No, no.
Or a different one?
These are
Oh,
these are just some command line tools for
like
uh,
the
P,
tape.
P, P files and tat
Yeah,
files
yeah.
for
I may have.
various things. So, like, you can take a file of bytes on your computer, turn it into a line one rim statement
Mhm.
with the escape codes, so you can use that in ZMake base.
Yep.
Um, bunch of other things for going the other way too. But it's also got some cat file versions of stuff.
I think
Um,
I've used the I I think I've used the tape utilities, because didn't you have a tape utility out there, Ryan?
Or maybe
Well, I mean, no, not like not an audio tape one.
No, it's like converting from a P format to
So you can uh, I started with one. It was just a P to text,
oh, the P to text. Okay. I know I played with that one.
and then I there was like an old one, and I just gave it a couple of different output modes, and then I started adding other utilities.
Nice.
So, and then one of those in that bunch, although it probably needs to be separate, is the one for the Carl's 1510 emulator,
Mm,
to take a P file and make a cartridge ROM
okay.
out of it.
No, that's cool. I think one of the things I learned, I found somebody had written this was early in my day, so I didn't know how the basic lines look, because apparently I didn't bother to go read the manual. But I found a program that would allow you to dump the listings of the P files into a format. And so you could do like a list of it. And I thought that was really cool. So I figured out a way to hack that into Perl and then converted it to a actual listing using a ZX80 text font. So if you go to my site and you do the listing, I tried to make it look as close as possible to the ZX81 listing, other than I highlighted the keywords, because otherwise people would type in the whole keyword as letters, and I'm like, that's not going to work. So I try to make it a little easier to know how to type the programs in if they wanted to. But yeah, those are cool programs. I hadn't played as much on the text to basic, so that's or the basic to a P file. That's actually pretty cool.
So, and the reason I mention this is, because ironically, one of the things that many of us loved about the Sinclair was the keyword, right?
Oh
Push the
yeah,
button, you get print,
best
right?
thing ever. Yeah.
And now we have uh, several tools, at least,
Yeah.
that will let us, type in the keywords, in a text file, and then compile that to a P file or a TAP file or whatever. Um,
That's just not old school enough for me. I still type a lot of programs in directly in an emulator. I may put them in fast mode or run the speed up a little, but
yeah.
I'm still pretty old school. Other than machine language, I have to do that by typing. There's no way I'm doing that on a ZX81.
Well, and 81, the emulator, is really good for that.
It's
And
really
81
good.
as an emulator is just absolutely fantastic. It's the one that I use when I am archiving old, 81/1000
Mhm.
tapes, because it has, um, it's loading utilities. You get the graphic, representation of the ways, and you can adjust all these little settings and pull stuff almost out of thin air sometimes.
Oh yeah.
Out of terrible tapes, you can get excellent results. It's pretty fantastic.
Yeah, just don't put like my first one I did, which was my water bug one, and I couldn't figure out why it would run, and I found that there is no error correction on the code. So if it could read the program tape, it pretty much would run, but it didn't mean it actually did it right.
We've spent a lot of time talking about exactly that. Like we've talked about using shoot, the name of the audio program is
I
escaping me.
used Audacity.
Audacity, yes.
Yeah.
We've talked about using Audacity, and then there is uh, this Java program that you can load a WAV file into, and it will show you. It'll try to figure out the zeros and the ones for
Mhm.
you, and then let you correct, individual sections. Um, Joe, who's not here tonight, uh, has spent hours upon hours working through that, correcting bits, at a time, which is amazing, because then he sends me the file, and it's like, where do you get this one from? Well, cool. Well, Stephen, thank you so much. And uh, for folks, if you're not familiar with his blog, I'm going to drop the link in the chat, and on the video it'll go it'll go in the comments section.
Yeah, and if you guys and I'm always open to suggestions. If there's a better way to block it, let me know. I may do my own program on my websites too, so you can blame me for any crappy coding that's out there.
Yeah, no, go check it out because, like I said, you've done a lot of really cool, interesting things, and like you said, you've explored, different ideas, and it's fun to just sort of read through that process and go, oh yeah, that's an interesting way to do that, and I'm going to steal that. Not the Perl part, because
you can steal whatever part you like. So
Perl was the bane of my existence. Cool. Does anybody else have any questions for Stephen?
Yeah, Stephen, I have a question about which of the many programs you wrote are you most proud of or learn the most from, or that just generally what springs to mind?
No, it's a great question, Jeff. I think the one I've learned the most from that I need to actually publish and finish is my Ultima replacement. So I called it Gem Quest, and it was I don't know if you guys have ever played Ultima or a rogue type tile based game. I'm assuming most people probably have at some point in their lives, but I wanted to see if I could do something similar in the ZX81, and it was my way of learning machine code, so that was kind of the excuse, but it was also my way of really pushing the ZX81 to its limits. And for me, the time I spent with that tool taught me a lot about how do you do displays, how do you do background on tiles, how do you do character movement. I ran out of memory pretty early in that program. You'll laugh, I actually started my first attempt at that in mCoder. So think about having to take a basic program and convert it to machine code and then having to deal with, hey, that doesn't work very well. So I thought, well, that's okay. I'll just add more RAM. Yeah, that didn't work very well either. And so I went to machine code thinking, oh, this will be a better place. And I hit a limit pretty quickly. So I ended up writing compression algorithms, RTLs, and, how do you do, I didn't quite get to LZP type stuff, but very similar kind of concepts. How do you create a map and then load maps in real time, so you could have different scenarios, like you could be on a overworld map and then you're in a castle map, and so I have a lot of that game that's done. It works great. You could play it. You guys could go to. I've blogged about it a couple times. I need to get off my butt and actually finish the actual gaming part of it, not the coding part. But for me, it's probably the most fun I've had trying to figure out what you could shove into a machine and make it work. Things like pathfinding and how do you have characters, monsters actually follow you around the map, and how do you do combat and stuff. I learned a lot about not just coding, but how do you actually get the different pieces to work within a game in a much more complex scenario. That was probably my favorite as an adult. As a kid, Waterbug, obviously we talked about earlier, which you picked on that one pretty good early, David, was my passion project as a kid. But I did tons of other silly things, like if you guys ever played Dragon's Lair, do you remember that video laser disc game? I played that in junior high and early high school, and I thought, hey, I could write this in the ZX81. No. But I tried, and I have like 3 versions of that game, like different boards from it with time-based mechanisms. So funny enough, the mechanics of that game are pretty easy to emulate in the ZX81. The graphics not so good. Although I think I did see somebody out there decided to take the actual intro scene and turning it into a video file and play it back, which was kind of cool, but I never got to that crazy level of programming.
Hi, Steven. This is Gustavo.
Hey, Gustavo.
Hi. What is your preference for the Timex machine or Sinclair machines? Your preferred target to create programming?
Typically, I focus on the default ZX81 with 16K of memory. Generally is where I focus. That's my primary one. On specifically ZX81 or TS1000, doesn't matter which. I actually, in a couple of my machine language programs, I actually try to detect whether you're on NTSC or PAL, so it'll readjust some of the delay timing, so things will be about the same on them. I learned that late, so not all my programs do that, but most of them do. But I usually target 16K because I like full displays when I can get it. I'm not as good at doing 1K pseudo graphics or any of that fun stuff that I've seen others do. Someday I hope to aspire to be that good, but not yet.
And in the beginning, use the original machine, right, to write the program, or use any tool or any specific hardware for development?
It's all been stock machines with a Marion pack and the printer. That was all I had. I never had I never bought any other accessories. I did buy a keyboard overlay, so it had kind of better membrane. I wish I couldn't find, by the time I got into the 61, I think most of the hardware market had kind of dried up as a computer programmer. A lot of the computer companies were looking at other things. My dad did encourage me to email Sinclair at one time, and so I did, and they sent me back the schematics for the ZX81. So I actually have a copy of the schematics from Sinclair research. I was like, that's kind of cool to still have, but I never did anything with them. I'm not much of a hardware guy. I'm more of a software guy, so I tend to like the programming side than I do the hardware, but I love the different programs out there. I did play around with Chroma and getting my programs to work on the Chroma system. So anybody that's got some of the newer hardware, it should work for that.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
So like the Ultima program I talked about, it does color, and then a number of my, I think Aquarium I have up. If you play with some of my newer machine language, those will all do color as well.
Oh, that's crazy.
It's not that hard. It just slows things down. That's the only negative.
So when can we expect your Ultima program to be finished?
Oh God, now you're gonna put me on the spot, David. It was supposed to be finished like 3 years ago because I was hoping to finish it during COVID, and apparently I've kind of not made that. Let's just say life gets in the way. I would like to finish it either this year or early next year, but that's my goal. We'll see if I can. If anything, I keep telling myself I should at least like a demo version that's got like because I finished the first area, and maybe just send it out and say, hey, you guys can at least spend 30 minutes and play the first part of it and go, okay, this is fun or not. And at least then I'll say I did something.
That's awesome.
By the way, it works in Chroma as well. So it actually does have color if you have a color system, but if you don't, it'll run perfectly fine on a regular ZX81, or at least I hope it does, because I want to get a few testers actually try it on real hardware if I can.
There are some folks here who use real hardware. Yep.
Cool. I keep trying looking online to see if I can get a working Timex Sinclair again, but I have to figure out how to get them to mod it to get a TV, and it gets back to that hardware problem. So I've got to figure out how to do that.
Well, so one of the guys, Carl, who usually joins us, he's been working on this sort of Super 1000 that has 64K of RAM and a sound chip, and a built-in is a device called a Wespi, which is uses an ESP32 to emulate a cassette tape, but it also generates video. And as everything these days has a web interface. So you load your programs to the Wespi through the web, which is crazy. I have one of these things. It's fun.
Cool.
But it's
I
just
think I've seen the Wespi project. Doesn't it do like the networking as well? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's what step one is, getting a DHCP address for your 1000.
If anything, that might require me to write a HTML web server, HTTP server, just to see if I could. But
right, to see if it can be done. Absolutely.
It probably would be too hard. I think the biggest problem would be memory. It's just having enough memory to display anything.
Right. You could do a 404.
Yeah.
But Carl should have that done.
Paul has his
maybe
hand
by
up.
the same time that you have Ultima.
Dave,
Yeah.
I posted a custom TS1000 in the for sale segment today.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So are you in the Stephen? Did you sign up for the groups.io list?
I haven't yet. I need to do that.
Okay.
Give that a look.
So what Paul posted was Timex brought out this plastic carrying case for your 1000 or your 1500, and it also had a space for a power supply and a couple cassettes in your RAM, whatever. And it's like about 13 inches by 10 inches or something. They made, I think they made about 2,000 of them. They mentioned it
They
in
for like schools or something?
I'm sorry?
Weren't they for like schools or something?
No, these were just a carrying case that you
Oh,
could
really?
buy through their newsletter. And one of the things that folks did with it was cut a hole in the top and put a keyboard in it and stuff their 1000 in it, which is what Paul has. His has you have a TI keyboard in there, right, Paul? That's what it looks like.
I don't remember which one it is.
Okay. Yeah.
All the keys are there.
Yeah, it's big. I mean, when your unit of measurement is an 81 or 1000, right? Everything's big. It's not a lot bigger, but it's definitely bigger than a 1000.
But it
Well,
has
it's presumably a full-size keyboard, right?
It's a white TI keyboard, so from a later TI. But yeah, full size.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I think I've added to the group, so I signed up.
Yes. Thank you. That was awesome.
Good reminder.
I'm gonna channel Adam here, and I see that we have two people whose names I don't recognize. And Jim, I'm gonna call on you first because I see all your cool ham radio equipment in the background.
I recognized it too.
Hey, is my audio remotely acceptable?
Yep, sounds good.
Oh, good. Yeah, I'm Jim. David, I'm the one that just bought the connectors from you.
Oh, okay.
And Paul, that showed up safely.
All right. Did it work? Oh, you don't know yet.
To my absolute delight, it actually worked. I don't even have to open it up, which was not the case for the Timex Sinclair 1000 I picked up. So.
Well, I told you that was a very nice one.
Yeah. Oh, it's beautiful. Now you've cursed me though, because I'm really not the kind of person that saves boxes. And you sent it in this beautifully preserved, pristine box that I feel obligated to keep now.
Oh yeah. So Jim, what are you gonna do with these things?
Well, so I only picked up the 2068 because Paul listed it, and it seemed like a good deal, and it looks like you folks are having fun with them. But the project I wanted to do with the 1000 is I'd actually posted in the Discord a while back about RS-232 interface for it. So I want to interface with it to an old terminal node controller. Okay. So I guess I'll use the UART off that board. I had a couple of DUARTs on another board, but I thought that would just be easier to implement. And I mean, it shouldn't be too hard to write a terminal program. I know you pointed me in the direction of some that already exist.
Yep.
So that's a possibility too, because I guess the hardest part would be converting between the Timex character set and ASCII, which really shouldn't be that hard. So that's project number one. I've actually been having fun with the machine once I got it going. The only real challenge I have right now is I lack any way to save a program. I don't own a cassette player. I'm trying to avoid owning a cassette player. I tried one of those digital audio recorders. I have one that I use for ham radio stuff, but I'm assuming that the sample rate must not be high enough, and I'm missing bits.
Or
is the only thing.
Maybe.
What's that?
Or the compression.
Volume.
Oh, yeah.
Volume is your other thing.
Oh, yeah. You need a super hot signal. Yeah.
You can be able to run that out of your computer, but they're notoriously bad for low res. They don't get loud enough for these old computers to register the high bits.
You need a preamp.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Jim,
yeah, it's the Sinclair 1000 or the Timex 1000 was a machine I'd wanted for years, which is funny because I grew up in the PC era, but I was exposed to one when I was a kid, and I just thought it was a neat little machine. So I came across one at a ham radio swap meet, and I've been playing with it now for a few months.
I was going to say either you color your hair or you're a lot younger than the rest of us.
Well, yeah, like I said, I grew up in the PC era, so that was my polite way of putting it.
well, Jim, all of us actually grew up in the PC area because the PC came out in 81 or something like that.
Well, I guess I should say I grew up in the PC clone era then.
There you go.
I was a child of the 90s.
I actually laugh because I think what the Apple II came out, what, 78, 79? So it predated the ZX81 by 3 years. The difference was the price, right? I mean, that was what got a lot of us in, is we could afford the darn thing.
Yeah, the Apple was tremendously expensive.
Hey, Stephen, I had a question for you.
Yeah, Jim.
Where would you send somebody to learn Z80 assembly for someone that is, spent their life in high level languages?
There's two. I found two good books that I use. One is there's the original one that got written back on the ZX81 from Tony. Oh God, what's his name? I'll send you the book, but it's Learning Machine Code, and it's just a great beginner's book based around the ZX81. I ignore the programs themselves are a little esoteric because if you actually use their assembler, they teach you how to do it on the screen. The other one is funny. Yeah, there you go. Somebody had the book. And then the other one that I've used, I found a great Z80 algorithms book that has a bunch of just pre-built algorithms. It's really good for just, hey, how do I do X, Y, Z? And you go to grab one of those and put it on there. Those are the two books I would recommend. But if you just want to learn it, there's a couple good forums stuff. So funny enough, ignore the ZX81 stuff. Go look for the TI-99, or not the TI-9, but the TI calculators. They had Z80 chips on them, and there's entire forums out there that just have programming examples. If you just search the web, I found tons of people have stuff out there. So,
okay, cool. Thank you.
And if you need a template or getting started, I've sent that to a few folks in the past just to kind of get them going. So it's really easy. I think one of the guys on my other forum, he just wrote a book on how to write programs in 1K. I probably wouldn't use it as a programming book, but it's a great way to learn what craziness you could do with the ZX81. So a lot of good stuff.
Really good book.
Yeah.
I really love the Rodney Zach's Z80 book.
Yeah,
the very thick telephone book of Z80. And that's what I basically used to learn Z80 code on the 2068, not on the 1000. But
that's the one with the white cover, right?
I think so.
I think I have that.
It's like really thick.
Yeah, it's 2 inches at least.
So inch and a half, easy.
Yeah, I will tell you though, the Z80 is an interesting chip to program for. It took me a little bit it's different than like a 6502, which has a much different register type and page memory. So you have to learn a little bit about Z80's timing and getting used to things running odd. They're not all, it's very esoteric in many ways, but there's some really cool ways to optimize it. So the first thing you have to learn is go read up on how people optimize it, because it's really hard to read other people's code if you don't know that, like how to clear a carry bit. A lot of people don't know how to do that, right? You could use the clear carry. No real ZX80 programmer uses clear carry or set the clear bit because it's way too slow. And it takes like 2 bytes or 3 bytes. And so you do an and or an or a or an and a just to clear the carry and move on. And so there's little tricks like that that you learn that it's hard to go read up on some of the optimization sites. A lot of the books won't teach you those little tricks right away because they're trying to teach you real programming. But when you get to actually on a machine, you won't program that way. You'll learn really quickly there's better ways to do stuff. So.
All right. Well, thanks for the advice.
Yeah. And by the way, if you go to my blog, I I post all my programs out there. They're all commented. You can copy paste them into I use the ADSM to do most of my assembly, but you can run them in most assemblers. So I do post all my code out there. I should probably put it on GitHub. I just haven't bothered. But anybody can go pull it and learn it. So if you want to look at some and go, hey, how did you do X? Go look at that, right? They're all out there, and I try to do a pretty good job of coding, but if you in commenting it, but if you can't figure something out, let me know. They're pretty straightforward, and you can copy paste them and run them yourself if you want and hack at them.
Jim, a couple of us have dropped resources into the chat, including that book, the Tony Baker book that
yeah, Tony Baker, there
Steven mentioned. And
yeah, I see him right here.
Also the Rodney Zacks book, which is, like Mowgli said, that is a classic. That is, I remember seeing it referenced back in the early 80s when, I was learning how to use the 81. Sorry, I lost
Radio Shack even carried it for a while.
Right. So there's two, off the top of my head, two modern storage systems for the 81/1000. One is this thing called the Westy, which will let you load. It'll also let you save, and it generates VGA output. And the other is a thing called the ZX Span, and that has an SD card. It has an AY3 sound chip and 64K of RAM, I think.
Yeah, I've encountered both of these in my research. It was definitely something I was looking at. Is there any particular preference to one or the other?
Well, I've had the ZX Span. It's nice. And it adds, a couple commands. It's really cool how it adds commands to your. It takes over the list, lprint, and I think copy commands and remaps them to something else.
But don't rely on any routines that are using those. Just be cautious.
Yeah, right. Exactly. It's really cool how they integrated it into the 81. But I have a Westy now because it generates VGA. I mean, that's the primary thing for me is actually I do have a composite monitor, but I am not that nostalgic about terrible video signals. I like them emulated. I don't like them in real time.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, part of the fun of this is it's set up upstairs in the living room now, hooked up to the TV across the room, so it's real easy on the eyes. And
yes, it is. And there's a few. I think we talked about this in the Discord. There's a few, ham radio programs that folks wrote for the 81/1000.
CTM had a lot in it.
CTM, yeah. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of CTM archived. Somebody needs to send me a big box full of CTMs, if anybody has such a thing. But there's still some tapes and stuff that you can find on my website for, the ham radio stuff.
Yeah, I did figure out how to play at a P file, so I can load software that already exists out there.
Okay. And one more thing is, someone posted, I feel like last year sometime, a schematic that they did using the 8251 that sort of recreated the 2050 modem, which is what you're shooting at. The other thing to do is Wilf Richter did a modem that's works like the 2050. I think he used an 8251, and that his site is archived on archive.org. So his schematic is an ASCII schematic because he was posting back in the days on Usenet.
Mm-hmm. I may have some 2050 boards.
And there you go. And
so I don't believe I really need the full modem functionality though. Really, I just need a UART and a level shifter. I should be able to get away with.
There
not
was
even a
a
level shifter these days.
program. There was a design to change it to an RS-232.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's documented. There's some documents on my website about that as well that might help you out.
Okay.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. Thanks for all the resources, by the way. I went and saved those links.
Awesome.
For everybody that dropped them.
I may have grabbed a few. It's always good to learn something new. So
Yeah. Hey, Michael, I'm not gonna butcher your name live, but are you there, Michael?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, the other Mike. There's another. There's multiples of y'all.
It's sashimi.
I'm sorry. Say it again.
It's sashimi.
Sashimi. Okay. So, Michael, tell us what brings you here.
I was just looking on the web the other day, and I just saw that you guys had a Zoom meeting on the ZX81, and I know nothing about it. I'm interested in all like classic computers. In fact, I own 31 different systems between computers and retro gaming systems and stuff like that, and I just dabble in a little bit of anything.
Okay.
I have a Color Computer 1, Color Computer 2, a Commodore 64, I have a bunch of stuff, So, and I just play with them. I'm no programmer, nothing like that. I just go around and explore stuff.
Well, if you want another rabbit hole to go down, we are more than happy to provide entertainment.
Well, I'll probably listen in on a couple meetings whenever I got time, and I've actually didn't know anything about this system, so this is all new to me. So
Okay. I mean, were you did you get into computers in the 80s or more recently?
I grew up with a Color Computer 1 and then a Color Computer 2, and I had a PC, what was it? Probably a 386 and a 486.
Okay.
I'm actually an IT person for, a county government, and I'm a system administrator.
Okay.
But I'm no like programmer. I do a lot more website stuff and like Active Directory stuff like that than anything else.
Oh, you'll find the 1000 is definitely a step up from Active Directory.
Okay. But I have done some basic programming and Fortran programming, but that's about it. So.
Oh, okay. And were you one of the unfortunates who had to use punch cards for your Fortran?
In what was I? Was I in I think first year of college I did punch cards. Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah. So
I feel for you.
Yeah, it was a nightmare. So, don't drop your stack, right?
I was gonna say, the exact same thing. That is the worst possible thing that could happen.
I was just trying to unmute to ask if you'd ever dropped a stack.
I think once at least.
My dad said he'd always take a Sharpie and draw a line across the back of them all, so you had some idea of where they went.
Wish I'd have known that.
Yeah, the number of places you basically write on them as the stack. On the side of the stack, they write what it is, multiple letters, and usually ones at least with angles and curves and stuff, so that if you drop the stack, you have multiple points to verify like that you have it in the right order. And you want to use more than one letter, obviously, but that was, as far as I can tell, that's a fairly common method to keep the stacks together. And I've seen people still doing that today. And I have a couple of stacks which are of cards which are labeled that way.
Oh my gosh.
Well, luckily I only had one class of that, and I never had to do it again. So.
I was going to ask who's usually using punch cards in today's era, but that's scary. Yeah.
Well, you did say that he worked for municipality IT, so
that's true.
Yeah,
How's
I
accounting
I
work?
actually worked for Armstrong County in Pennsylvania. So
Okay.
Oh, wow.
As a county worker
You can work
myself, I
with
can
paper
vouch
tape.
we're all pretty backwards.
We had a machine that worked to use paper tape.
well, it's interesting. That's all
I
I'll
may
say.
have some paper tape still, but that's still scary.
And I think it bought out 7 code.
Very funny. Cool. Well, thank you for joining us, Michael. And come back. We will give you nightmares or entertainment, depending upon how you look at it.
I hear you.
Hey, Ryan, you wanted to do a demo of something? Are you there, Ryan?
Yeah.
Oh, there you are. Okay.
Yeah. Let me just.
Cue it up. So for those of you that are new, for the 2068, a couple of crazy guys in Argentina a few years back started designing a system that uses a Raspberry Pi Pico as the engine of a storage system for the 2068. One of those crazy guys is Gustavo, who's here. And actually, Gustavo's work goes back even further to the 80s. Is that right, Gustavo? Like mid 80s, you started working on your system and protocol.
Yes, of course. The start of the project was when Timex decided close the factory, and I have a very new computer. Yes, I buy 2 or 3 weeks before that Timex closed,
Oh,
and say what? I not have more support. I not have more nothing. That is really does not happen now with my new computer. That's why I put all my focus on the try to understand how this machine works and try to understand the operating system, the hardware, and do all the necessary investigation to continue with the support. And also, have a background with the electronics and programming, and that's why I use my own source and my own support to continue with the computer because I don't need Timex. Basically, that was my starting point with the Timex 2068.
and so you wrote, a protocol and a sort of an extension to the operating system that
Yes,
would let you save and load, programs across the wire
exactly.
to your other system, which was a
The
CPM.
idea was not deal more with the tapes.
Right.
I wrote my own code, as you mentioned, is the TPI commands extension. And that's what originated, create to interface the machine with the CPM, NPM machine, more biggest, with hard drive or whatever. That was my tool to programming the system because I not use the 2068 to develop. I use the big machine.
Mhm.
That's why I will create the ROMs, a special version of patch the operating system. I created a storage system before that Timex Portugal created FDD.
Right.
During this time, the Timex closed factory, my first storage system was ERCO, but many years ago, later, okay? Because ERCO launched on 85 approximately,
Yeah.
86, I
Yeah.
don't remember.
A
But
couple years. Yeah. A couple years
yeah,
later.
I took the operating system and the patch on 84. 84 middle till the end of the 84.
So this is all background for Ryan is helping develop and test the newest version. There were Gustavo Ricardo, the other person who's come up with this thing called the Ts-Pico. They've been working on upgrading it, adding commands and features, and so Ryan has been working on various parts of that coming up with ideas for improving code that runs in the thing, improving the feature set. And so Ryan, that cues you up.
Yes, but another important is when Ricardo contacted me, that was the initial contact due to the Ricardo is beginning with the storage project on
Yeah.
the 2020 in the middle of the pandemic. And I remember my storage software created on the ROM and offered to Ricardo and also to David to put on the system because was developer, was debugger, is mainly only minor adaptation to use the Ricardo ports, and that's it.
Yeah, you didn't
Now
have to
is
do much.
yeah, exactly. The
Yeah.
operating system was created before the hardware. That's one of the remember, David?
That's right.
Yes,
right.
correct. Yeah.
You've just been waiting this entire time for someone to come along and say, I've got a thing for that.
Exactly.
So Ryan, have you loaded it up yet?
Yeah, well, actually, I was unloading it.
Oh.
I will have to do the old shaky cam though.
Okay.
So, well, mainly I've been working on sort of a little file menu program to just help navigate and load the files from your SD card. And then I'm going to be looking at tweaking a few of the commands before our version 1.2 comes out. Because Ricardo, well, I was doing these changes and Ricardo's out of pocket right now. So, but I was trying to tweak up the menu program a little bit. Mainly, I had some, test versions I posted. I think one even somewhat recently. And so I decided I wanted to make it a little bit less of an homage to Norton Commander in terms of its look and feel. Plus, I thought it looked a little drab, maybe. So I wanted to give it a little bit more of a Timex look and feel. And then Ricardo had the great idea of bundling it in, putting it in the no file special tap file on the Pico, so that when you try to load a program with no tap file mounted from the SD card, it would just come up and say, oh, there's no file mounted, but you could actually just put some program in there, and so that would be a great place for the menu program.
Yeah.
And so I've put that together with just an initial program that tells you no file mounted and then gives you a little bit of help, and then you can go on to the menu program if you like. So I'll just show that here. Where's the flipper? You'll have to excuse my, come on, focus. My old monitor's menu will keep popping up. Okay, so, well, actually, let me just restart it. There's what you get normally when you got the Pico. And if you were to try to load something, but there's no file mounted, then this will pop up telling you no file mounted, but gives you a little cheat sheet. So I don't know if you haven't reviewed that no file tap I posted, David, in the
Wow, no,
Pico list. It has this on it. So any comments on the what's on here would be appreciated if you can do that.
Yes. Load quote is the standard command I type during all the Timex year. Yeah.
So let me give a little context here. You know, if you're a 2068 user and you had a cassette player, you had to put your cassette, into the player, right? And you had to then type load and press play. And with the Pico, you can have a gazillion tap files on your SD card. And so you have to tell the Pico what it is that you want which cassette you want it to mount. A tap file is literally a representation of a cassette tape. So you have to say, mount this tap file, and that's a special command. And then once you've done that, you can then do the load quote quote, and it loads the first thing it finds in the tap file. The tap file can hold multiple programs. This is a little bit of a challenge, for folks who've used like disk systems where you can just start typing load something or other, and it will start loading files. So what Ricardo initially did was he wrote this little program that sits in the Pico memory. If you type load quote quote and you forget to mount a tap file, it would issue this. It would give you back this message that says you have not done this special step first. And Ryan has taken that a step further with that really nice help screen in color, which says, if you have not, you haven't loaded a tap file, so here's a bunch of commands that you need to know.
Yeah, so basically you operate the thing from the command line. So here I've done a directory. So we see the tap files and some other things in the folder there.
Yeah.
And so you could load some stuff there. And you do that, you tell the Pico, and that's what the prefix TPI colon is you're going to tell the Pico to do something. So you want it to load let's see, we'll do the README if I can type it.
Oh, that's a doc file though.
Oh, there's a tap file on there.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So you tell the Pico, I want to mount the README tap on the virtual tape. So then you could also tell it, oh, that's not right. Nipping at an angle here.
Yes.
So you could say, all right, do a directory of the tap file that you've mounted. Let me just see what's on the tape. Well, okay, this one only has one. There's 2 blocks, the header and the program, and it's, oh yeah, the name is Ts-Pico and it's a program.
Mm-hmm.
So you can do load quote quote. You can load with my name too. So if I load that, it loads from that tape. And so that's the program, and there it is. And that's just the welcome kind of program that it comes with.
Yep. And
so
make it auto run.
So you've turned the Ts-Pico into a large tape juke.
Yeah, it's kind of cool.
So there's plenty of other things you can do. And so we see in angle brackets there, the directories. Yeah. So you can, there you give a save. And I'll send all emails to David about why it's save, not load.
All right, what is fudge.tap?
We're going to do a change directory, okay, into, I guess I'm doing mine because these others are full of other stuff. And then we can do another, tell the Pico, give me a directory for that.
Mhm.
and so on. And so we go off into other taps that we could mount and do things with.
Hey Ryan,
Hmm.
what's fudge.tap?
Oh dear. All right. Well, we'll save that for when we get into the menu. Remind me.
Okay.
Okay. So you can do all these things, and then there's some other utility things. What is it? The get info
Hmm.
tells you kind of the state of things. There we see we've got the README tap mounted. Um,
The current path. Yeah.
Oh yeah, we still have the README tap mounted, but we're down in the tap mine directory right now. So if I say, I don't know,
It's going to give us the README. Yeah.
so it still shows that mounted, and so I can say, all right, we do a save close, that'll unmount it, and so forth. So now that I have one mounted, I'm going to load quote quote. Now we get the thing that would say, okay, you don't have any file mounted, and that's just going to pop up this first program in the no file tab that's on the Pico in the Pico's internal memory. It gives us this little cheat sheet of things.
And the
Um,
space will load the menu program.
and so I just said, well, okay, why make it difficult? Why do I have to type load menu after this? I'll just have this program let me hit
Yeah.
space to continue or just some other key to exit.
Okay.
So then we go on to the menu program. Which is we're in the mine directory already. Okay, that's right. We're still in the mine directory, so it's going to load the information about that,
Oh, that looks
present
fantastic.
that. So I don't know if you remember what it looked like before, David.
Mm-mm.
Oh,
This
is
looks
no one reading my mails?
No. Who are you?
I just throw these things over the wall, put it in a bottle, and throw it in the ocean.
Yeah.
No, so like that top title bar was just cyan with white or dark blue text. I think it was.
Yeah.
It was all a bit drab, and so I don't know. I just wanted to. I went and flipped the color some of the colors around to make the file names stick out, and then played around and then put some. I said, "Oh, let me go into the cyan, black and white for the branding, if as it were."
Yeah.
So here it just shows. Okay, you've got at the top. You see the which directory you're in. Then we got these columns, and it largely looks like the tap directory you saw the Pico just return.
Yeah.
And so this just comes from, it generates a file that I load the character data from. And so then this will get.
You can use the up and down arrow.
So then I do arrow up and down. So these are the directories. Okay. And then these are the files. So they have their numbers and size. Then our opening screen, it says, it just reminds you can press question for help. So it has its own help screen.
Yeah.
Of keys for what it does.
Mount the file.
Okay, so I'm going to change these around a little bit.
Okay.
But that's what I was working on today, is just deciding what those should be. But then you can also invoke the Picos get info.
Mm-hmm.
See that, and then the Picos help. Which, oh boy, does this suffer the bug? Oh yes. So I should say yes and continue.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Okay, so then go back. Oh, I don't need to go all the way back from that. See, I got to make a note of that. fix
Are you
that.
gonna
So
are
it
you gonna
doesn't.
show us fudge?
So
Not to keep
so it's got little things. So like I can type a letter. So I can hit F and skip down through the F things.
Oh wow.
I can jump back to the top. We see there's more than one screen full. Where's my finger? Little arrow there. So we can go to the right, get another page, and go back. We can also do by index number. So I can type in the ampersand and then 8 and go right there. Okay, so we'll mount that. We'll just press enter. And then we'll mount that and give us a tap directory.
And you just okay. And then you just press L to load the first thing, huh?
Yeah, so I can load from wherever the current pointer is. When you first do it, you're at the beginning.
Yeah.
And there's only one program on here anyway. Or I could go back to the listing.
You
and then
teach us like that.
Oh.
We want to know what fudge is.
And then so it'll show that fudge is mounted there at the bottom. Nice. And then this will flash, so you could be going up here.
Ryan, question: are you using basic language on these tools?
Yes.
Okay. Wow. Impressive.
It's 100% basic.
Impressive, because we have only available the BIOS inside the ROM that up to now is not used. Exists. We have a more powerful interface with the Pico, but this is the basic level.
Yeah. So
Wow.
So at some point, we'll start to utilize that, because I'm going to want. There are some limitations.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll get to that. Okay. So, so let's see. One of the things I think I was going to change, but so go back in there. All right. So let's load it up. So we can then just load that up there, and that one doesn't auto run.
Okay.
And I will have to.
The auto run works if you save with line, right?
Right.
This one I didn't.
Huh.
Okay. So this is one I had recovered
from 84.
From back in the day. I will have to go get a joystick. Hold on.
Oh. So, Brian, that is a really nice improvement over for the folks who just want to get in and load stuff and play with whatever they happen to have. Super shortcut there. Oh. Okay. Wow.
Okay, so I hope this stick works. Okay, so let's run that. Oh, maybe the stick is broken. Oh dear. That's unfortunate.
It happens with old sticks.
Well, darn it. Okay, let me grab another one real quick.
Okay.
3 raps with a small hammer and see if it helps.
Yeah, right. Percussive maintenance. I know people who do that.
Sounds like a bunch of IT people to me.
Yeah. Hit it harder. Oh, it's time to order a new
Roll it down the hill. It'll eventually work.
Yeah. Very cool. games.
Oh
available.
dear, this is probably really bad.
Way
Oh,
cooler than
gee.
my demo program I was going to show. So this
Is there something this does to the joystick port?
No, I don't think so. Shouldn't.
This has the same problem.
Okay.
It's run off to the left.
Shouldn't affect the joystick port. Adam was able to test various
I know
video games.
he had something like this happen to him
Okay.
with one of his joysticks.
Are you using the Timex joystick or the Kempstone joystick?
Timex.
Timex one.
In theory, you use it for F5, F6. You're not conflict with the Ts-Pico.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on. Well, okay. We'll have to do that one another day. I'll just tease it then. Program I wrote obviously ran shortly after the Macintosh had come out. So you can use the joystick. It's really inefficient. You use the joystick to go up there, and these will pull down and give you a menu to operate on things. And then it's a UDG editor.
Oh, okay, right. That's what the UDG in Fudge.
Yeah, it's a friendly user-defined graphics editor.
Nice. But what is that little thing in the upper left?
What?
Is that like a rotting orange or something?
Yeah,
an
it's
apple.
exactly what it is.
Yeah, it looks just like my Mac.
Was that used with permission?
Yeah, I gave myself permission to use it. It was my artwork. Let's see. Oops. I'm letting load.
Cool.
So here I'll no, not load.
Oh, you're closing it. Okay.
Oh dear. Okay, I'm going to unmount so there's nothing mounted so that we can quickly get back to.
It did not even occur to me that that would be a shortcut to getting to your menu. That's fascinating.
Yeah, so do I have a tab on here? So the better one is Quick Font. We'll get into there. So that's kind of, I'm trying to think if there's some other major. Oh, it was the other directory.
This is a fantastic, improvement all unto itself. What you've just shown us.
Yeah, I've done some tweaks to try to minimize some delays here and there. Obviously, parsing through the directory list is annoyingly slow. But once it's loaded, then we can jump through the screen to screen pretty quickly.
Yeah.
What was I? Oh. So like, for example, if you got these long names, right?
Yeah, that's pain in the butt to type.
That's a problem. Well, also it's missing the extension. The problem here is that this is all that the Dear Info tab gives me.
Okay.
So that would be a nice thing to change if we can. So I have to, so since I need to know what I can load by number. In fact, it does that. But basically it doesn't know what file extension this is. So if I mount it, it's like, well, okay, it's going to guess and says, well, is it a TAP file? Because it sees
the TA.
A TA on there, and so you can say yes, and then it'll say, all right, I'll mount that.
Okay.
And then, of course, Pico knows what the real name is, and so on some screens it'll print it. Now here it prints it in a short form to fit all in one line. So
That was one of the reasons to limit the input length on the TPI commands, because the idea was to solve one line per file name. And if you use more than 16 or 17 letters, you have a problem to put the name on the screen.
Yeah. Well, but that
So,
doesn't
I
solve
mean,
for people who are copying things from the PC to their SD
it's
card.
because like the files I got on here were, all these names. Wait, what key am I hitting here? Okay.
You can blame me for that one, Ryan, because if that's the file I think it is, that's entirely on
I
me for
mean,
doing it.
yeah, you can require people to, shorten all the names. I don't require it because I can load by index number, but I require it to be able to see the extension. So if there's no extension, it's just going to ask you, what the heck is this? So like, look at this flight simulator saved with a %20.
Yeah.
I think that came from the internet.
That came from, yep, it was absolutely.
But I don't, you don't see any extension. So it's just going to ask you, what is that? And I'm like, well, I think it's a doc file. And then so.
You can rename on the SD card too.
You can.
Yeah, but I can't hear.
Right.
So, and since it's not a tap file, there's no tap directory to give. So it just says, well, do you want to load that?
Yeah.
For sure. So I could say no, but
okay.
And it'll go through, let's see, what's a good one?
In terms of a doc file to load, just to run. I think Penetrator has graphics of some decent graphics.
No, the problem is the convention. In the original specs, when you create a directory, automatically, if not have extension, you add the .dir. That is the reason, and not confuse any file with the directory. Put all the directories with .dir. That was
well, I know which ones are directories. From the list from the dir info file. It separates those. So that's not a problem. So okay,
really
so
nice,
so we'll load that, and that triggers the standard. If you sort of mount a doc file on your own and do a load quote, then you'll get into this. That's what this is doing. So this is the one we hope to maybe simplify. I don't know, 0, enter to continue the ceremony.
Right.
And there we go. Oh, is that just bug?
No, this is a different. That displays it. What happens when you
that's
press enter?
The video bug where.
No, I don't think so. This looks like something else.
It's addressing the XROM, but his card doesn't know that. So it thinks it's video rights.
Oh, maybe. Okay, right.
No. Enter. Please just let me play the game. Yay.
Here we go.
It's very dark.
Yeah. It'll spell something out in a second, I think.
Now, I don't know if this game probably didn't let you exit normally. Most of those things don't.
No cartridges? No, they just.
Maybe that one's not working.
That's interesting. Okay.
Maybe it's not a 2068 version or something.
Yeah.
So in that case, we'll just reach over here. Let's see if the old
reset button. There we go.
The old reset works.
Better than the RAM pack wobble. Cool. Yeah, Ryan, that whole help screen and then press the space bar. That's fantastic. That's really cool. I mean, this is cool too. This is really nice.
Okay, and yeah, so there's a few things I need to add few commands to it that I hadn't. You can do some stuff. Let's see. Yeah, if you mount a tap file, then you can turn on a pen mode,
Okay.
and it'll show you. Okay, that's there, and I'm going to add, like I say, I'm adding the thing for removing a file. So it'll have that, and then also it can do the remove directory, but the directory has to be empty now. So then
So
list of
Timex commander, TPI commander, as you have it called there.
Well, yeah, it's sort of got various names here.
Yeah.
Yeah, so TC can mean what you want. Just like the NC Norton commander. But I guess that's pretty much the gist of it. I need to eventually get back to testing whether this runs well. I had done a whole bunch of stuff for being able to run this as a doc program.
Yep.
Which then caused it to have to do things and have limitations, but it was dealing with that, and then because that was when I thought to be able to have this handy, we were going to have to do it that way. But then this no file version, it's like, well, that's actually just works a lot better.
Ryan, due to the limitation, Ricardo can patch the operating system to enable the dock bank in the second half of the memory. You can do XROM in the half 32K and dock in the upper. Those enable to create the arrows program directly, but need a patch on the Ts-Pico.
But
you do?
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay.
We can discuss next meeting.
Yeah.
Well, I thought you could run AROSs now because I had done.
Yeah.
In the normal hardware Timex 2068, the original SCLD version, you can do not. But in the actual Pico hardware, yes, because remember you work with the bank enabled signal. You disable all the internal memory, and also the memory is handled externally by the Ts-Pico.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure. This is an older version. Because I don't think I've updated the doc one in a file in a while here.
Oh, and also it's easy to create the arrows cartridge. You can also save the basic program and move them to the cartridge area. Basic is basic. You have some limitation with the USR function or data, but you can also type a program with this limitation. You can move direct with save.
I'm going to interrupt you guys. And
there's the old look there for you, David.
Yeah, I remember that.
Okay.
I like the new look. I think you've done a good job using it up. That's very, yeah.
But yeah, that's running out of the dock there. I'd use that Python to convert it to an AROS dock.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, let's talk about what Gustavo's describing, and I mean it might be a little faster to run it out of the dock but frankly, that you can type load quote quote and you get that really nice sort of cheat sheet like you said, and then you just press the space bar to load your program. That's pretty fantastic.
Well, that's actually a bit of a dodge, because for whatever reason, the no file tap from the start, you can't say load menu.
Right.
You have to say load quote quote, which is what triggers. But I think Ricardo said they could fix that too, that it's just always there
Yeah.
if nothing's mounted, instead of loading it, triggering off a load quote quote. But that was all that was just really started as a dodge for that, so that because if you type load menu, it just wouldn't load it. So I said, well, I'll just let the first thing load it for me.
Load the second thing. Yes. Very nice. Cool.
So
Up to now,
yeah.
it's one of the most advanced storage systems for the 2068.
And until someone else comes out with one more advanced.
I don't know. Up to now, that is great to get the first position.
Okay, so it's 10:53, and I just want to mention that our Sunday meeting, for those of you who are not at the last Sunday meeting, I think. Anyway, due to my vacation, our Sunday meeting is going to happen this coming Sunday, the 10th, instead of what would have normally been on the 17th. So that explains why. You've already received an email reminder about this Sunday meeting. And we're going to have, oh, shoot, I've already forgotten who the guest is on Sunday. Oh, sorry, drawing a blank. I've got CRS now. Anyway, thank you, Stephen, again. That was so cool hearing your origin story, your journey, and check out Stephen's blog, because he just posts these really cool things, and it's fun to see people like Stephen and Johan, exploring what can be done with these machines, so much later. And we got any parting shots that they want to get off before we call it an evening? The last.
No, for me.
Okay. All right. On that note, thank you all. See you in, what is today? Today's the 4th. 5 or 6 days. Something like that. All right.
Thank you, David, for the invite. Really great meeting everybody.
Yeah, come back and tell us about about the stuff that you're working on.
Oh, you're gonna make me demo it next time. So
absolutely, I will. You got it.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Stephen. Bye. Thank you, David.
Good night, all.